Hi, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm Teri at Holding Your Space, and this is Reverend Rick joining us today. So, just want to say hi to everybody here. Let me make sure that that went on. Yep, we're live.
Oh,
Yay.
good.
Yeah.
Glad to be here.
Yeah. Sometimes there's a little bit of um, a lag. So, making sure. So, anyway, thank you so much for being here today, Reverend Rick.
Oh, thank you for having me, Teri.
And it was just perfect timing. And anybody that wants to place a question, please do so in capitals with a question mark if you can. You guys know how to do that. Oh, and there I go. Okay, got it. All right. Sorry, guys. I had that window open. Anyway, so I want to introduce Reverend Rick to you guys. If you haven't already seen him on Allie's channel, Heart and Soul Connected. He's been on there several times. Reverend Rick has a huge presence on Facebook, um, and he's a metaphysical minister for guidance. He does services including weddings, blessings, child dedications, funerals, and house cleansings. He's a Reiki master and teacher. Um, an Usui Reiki master. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right or not, Rick.
Usui. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Okay. I love that. Variety of healing services, including distance and in-person Reiki healing, as well as training and attunement to Reiki. He's also a psychic and an intuitive astrologer, tarot reader, spiritualist, provides special services for his clients. Um, so if you want a reading, I have all of Rick's information, or a majority of it, so you'll be able to reach
Yeah.
him at the bottom in the description on this on Facebook here. So, welcome, welcome everybody. Judy, Teresa, Sally, hi. It's good to see everybody here today. Um, and if you guys have any questions, feel free. Lurking, getting ready for Samhain. Oh, Diana. Yeah. So Diana Oil Painter, you're going to have to meet. She'll be on tomorrow night on Allie's show with me, and I'm sure you've already met her anyway in Allie's group. But she's our resident salve maker and astrologist,
Okay.
and just an amazing intuitive. So, oh, Sally's got. Okay, Sally, I'm going to put that up that you've got the spasms in your arm, and anyway, so hi, Rick.
Hi there. Hey, I'm having issues. I wish to apologize. We didn't have an idea here to know this was an issue, but I'm not able to have my comments go to the group. So I'll just post comments directly to you in private chat.
Okay. Oh,
Okay.
okay. Sure, sure. Um, yeah. Alrighty. No problem. Yeah, I think probably because you don't have a YouTube channel, because you usually have to do it through the YouTube.
See, I've got ahead and tried to get that figured out. Maybe sometime we can do a test run with you on StreamYard when we're not doing a live show, and we'll get that bug worked out that way.
Of course,
Yeah.
of course. Judy's going to take some shame zapping today. I love that, Judy. I will too, man. We should do that for the whole group. And I was telling Rick that this morning Medusa came in, the divine feminine energy, like a powerhouse, coming in and working with shame and cleansing things. I really feel like right now, for some reason, I don't know if it's the astrology of it, Rick, but we're getting a lot of those little bits and pieces of things from the shadows, old aspects
Right.
coming up. Can you talk about that a little bit? Is that something that's going on astrologically, or is that?
Yes, very much so. It is ramping up incredibly. Um, the divine feminine started coming in with the discovery of asteroids, the divine feminine asteroids, in the time of the American Revolution and just after. So Uranus awoke us, and that's why revolution was occurring, trying to throw off the patriarchy through the monarchy. That was our first target. And we are also an ethnocentric people humanly. So we didn't realize that South America was going through the same type of stuff. They had 5 indigenous women raising up groups to overthrow Spain and Portugal throughout South America. With that rise, Uranus awakening everything, our growth has been exponentially increasing through different times. Chiron came along in the 70s. The wounded healer people have heard about.
Mm-hmm.
And shame is a blockage for healing. Issues with the divine feminine have harmed the patriarchy as well.
Yeah.
And I personally suspect that struggle with integrating the feminine into the masculine has created issues with school shootings. Being unable to go ahead and process emotion on the part of males because they are socially inculcated to be body-centered removes them from connecting with their emotions. That's generationally harmful. It has then they've become aware of yucky feelings, but they don't know how to deal with them. They don't know how to voice them. They don't know how to name them. Without being able to name it, you can't address it. You have to know what it is that has upset you, what your wound is. So that Eris came in the early 2000s. That is the goddess that was left out of the party. It was the springboard for the war, Helen of Troy, and the battle of dealing with the fairest of them all. She threw the apple between 3 goddesses, and it had it written on the apple, to the fairest. But funny enough, only when dealing with another astrologer sharing conversation about Eris being about justice or addressing injustice,
Mm-hmm.
did it dawn on me and him. I said, we're looking at fairest as beautiful, but that harmony also includes in fairness justice. Who is the most just? Wow. Mind blown.
Yeah.
Because if we don't recognize justice, we don't see people.
Right. That's interesting. Judy's saying Mars' sister.
Yes, that's right. She knows
Yeah.
who it is. So
Yeah.
Mars's other name is Aries. And
Yeah.
Aries and Eris are partnered in their names.
Yeah. Never
And,
thought
and
of it.
absolutely, shootings are Mars related. They come quickly and they use iron. It used to be knives. But yeah. It's very fiery, so it can also use fire as part of the issue. But these things have been progressively working on all of humanity, because when the energy comes into is discovered, so Uranus has got discovered in 87, 1887.
Wow.
And it was, if I'm wrong, it's 78, and I'm just dyslexic at the moment. But this awakening was incredibly powerful. And then we started waking up to other things. Women's role in many things are overlooked. So if you do a search on Google, for advances in humanity in medicine, politics, you really need to include the name women in your search because it's overlooked. They get pushed to the bottom. They get disregarded.
Yeah,
You know?
definitely. Yeah, and Judy's saying also that 87, the French Revolution.
That's right.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
and
go
I
ahead.
see that oil painter, I can't
Mhm.
remember her name, her actual name. Diana. She mentions that we must add Estrella because not only is she connected with justice, but there's a related asteroid, Adrastrea, that keeps us bound to things longer than we should. So it kind of moves the bar on our tolerance and allows us to stay in a situation longer than we should.
Yeah. So, we've been talking about this on the channel a lot lately. Having things that, everybody's on their path. We're working on things, not just emotionally and spiritually, but also physically. And a lot of talk about shaking things off, literally, and just letting go of that energy because it does get trapped inside your body, doesn't it?
Yes, it is
Yeah.
trapped. That is the cellular memory, and intriguingly, Uranus rules the pain body or the light body. So, whichever is going to help you learn in the moment, knowing, oh, the light body, those messages travel faster than nerve impulses. It's that flash of Uranian lightning. And that means you can have a repetitive memory triggered and not know why, but your body holds the pain. So your body knows why. So something that goes to upset you is triggering old memories, old traumas, bringing it all to bear so that you have an inordinate response to little things.
Yeah, it really does, doesn't it? And I find myself doing that too sometimes. I've got a long list of things to get done that my own constructs have said, "You've got to do this today." And, and I'll find myself instead of being present and kind of watching what I'm doing and with awareness, I'll find myself hurrying on to the next thing and the next thing. And then all of a sudden I notice that I can't breathe very well and you're short of breath and abiding in your body, what your body says. But also the epigenetics of it, where if one of our ancestors, their village was pillaged thousands of years ago, we still have that within our body at a cellular level, don't we?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
for sure. Big deal.
Yeah.
Huge problem.
Yeah.
We actually speak about that in amongst indigenous people because colonialism combined with indigenous people created a populace born of rape culture.
Yeah.
It was power disparity. It was disregard of the feminine. And we are a part of us is each of our sides. So there is the shame of the colonizers having overpowered. There is the wounding of the indigenous being taken advantage of, that we all hold both sides of the shame, which, it's horribly difficult to unpack.
It is hard to unpack. And Shenanigans says she was just explaining epigenetics to her family yesterday. Yeah, it's a huge thing, and I agree. It's typically if this has happened in a family, whether it's to the male or the female, it doesn't matter, but it is passed on. And if your ancestor, or particularly if it's your grandmother or something, had something happen, such as a rape or abuse, you are so much more prevalent to getting it. Let's
Right.
see. Yeah, Liz says, as an immigrant from Hungary, I'm so aware of the inherited tissue memory from damages of World War I and World War II. In addition to other traumas, becoming aware the key to release. Yeah.
Oh, another Puerto Rican I see. Great.
And
That's
yeah, and a scientist.
okay.
So yeah, if you haven't met Sally yet, you will. And Sally Sally has an interesting story and interesting energy all around her.
So would the RDZ maybe be a Rodriguez?
I'm not sure. What is your last name, Sally? I know it. I've seen it before, but yeah, she may not want it on here because
Oh,
she
of course. I'm sorry.
yeah. No, it's okay. It's okay. We try to keep things
Somewhat. Yeah.
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 Yeah. And Judy says her tribe, Kickapoo, is almost gone. Yeah.
Even for those who are not wiped out yet, there has been a whitewashing of history and suppression of the ways of the people. So that has been something that has been addressed in different ways. You have some people's groups will keep everything private so they can try to maintain some semblance of purity, and you'll find amongst families that would be considered trad witches, traditional, will protect their philosophies by keeping them internalized so they're not watered down.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and we kind of talked about that when we were getting ready for this last week. I didn't realize that I had Jewish blood until I was 17. I wasn't told. And, my grandmother had the numbers on her arm. I didn't know what those were. I thought everybody's grandmother had those on her arm. So, but yeah, it's really interesting. We do keep it all quiet. And I think that whitewashing of particularly abuse
Right.
is a very shameful thing. And I guess I never really talked to my daughter about it or my son until recently, like in the past 5 years.
Oh.
Not about the Jewish blood. They knew that all along, but about history of abuses. So, yeah. Yeah. I
That's
love
where
this
culture comes in. We get used to the culture of suppressing the thing that is shameful, and we marginalize people who are shamed, the victims. We see it in the court systems. We see the way women are mistreated as victims. And we see men who are treated as victims in the strange spaces. A gentleman who's going to try and be a gentleman is frequently targeted by toxic women who have been unbalanced in their own experience of the divine masculine. So there is a lot of trouble from imbalance.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really tough. Yeah, Sally's saying it's the weird stuff that happens at my house that makes me want to hide a bit, Rick.
Oh,
I'll talk to you.
Weird stuff in a home, I will say, is so valuable. It is a brush with spirit that is inviting you to a deeper place. It really sounds like I don't know what I'm talking about, but when you get into it, spiritually from the outside, you can see, oh, wow, this is an awakening that you're having difficulty seeing through. And you're capable. Trust you're ready. And that's the only reason. It's all for more things that you are supposed to be embracing, and you're capable of taking control.
Yeah. You're right on the money with that one. It's like, what was that song? Lucy, don't lose my number or something. He's got your number there, Sally.
Yeah.
Okay. Shenanigans says, she was talking about epigenetics earlier, and she says, I was hoping it would help my brother understand his struggles with alcoholism and my own with PTSD and panic attacks.
Yeah, there's a lot that men have got to go ahead and have help. Usually it's best with other actively understanding men who have already integrated the divine feminine to some level, because men and women don't understand each other as much as women think they understand both. Because those same things that are mysterious of women don't understand male issues because they've not been handicapped the way men have. And they haven't been provided the safe spaces. And it's not safe for men to dive into certain questions that women can raise, because they'll be not looked at for how they're seeing it and saying it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so true. I think men are at such a disadvantage of showing their emotions and their whatnot. I find it very interesting that there's so much fluidity now and sexuality, and the young people that are coming in, and
Very important.
really beautiful. Yeah. Yeah.
Authenticity is moving forward that way.
It is, man. They don't care about the stuff that we cared about. They're like, I don't care about that house. I don't care about that car. Or sometimes they don't care about that school or whatnot. They want to learn what interests them. And it's going to be all different, I think. But still, we've got the stuff to clean up, I think.
Sure. But at the same time, I think we need to recognize their intelligence,
Yeah.
their awareness, because they say you can't fix a problem from the same place you created it. So the old guard is going to have to step aside and let new ideas clean things up.
Yeah. I don't think we're going to have a big chance to
It takes
not step
time.
apart. Yeah, to step. I mean, us, or not us, but the old guard. I don't think they stand a chance. I just feel like
Okay, yeah.
the energy's coming in, man. It's not going to happen for them much longer. Diana says, Sally's house in my dreams, they cross over. When I don't know where I've been, but know what I've seen, I know I went to Sally's house. So, yeah. Next time, knock, Diana. Yeah. And Shenanigans says, my brother is a very emotional person who doesn't show these emotions. He bottles it until it consumes him. And he isn't the only male in our family to be that way. My husband is similar to that too.
Oh, how brilliant. That brings together this idea that we incarnate in groups, that we can support one another, we can have similar issues. So your husband and brother are the key to working these things out. Even if they don't have time together or they don't get along, they're seeing what each other struggles with, and it's making their consciousness realize there's more than just them. They realize they're not alone. If they can bridge the gap and find a way to communicate with each other, they can certainly be present for each other. It'll advance both of their paths.
Yeah. Yeah. She says, I try to provide an outlet without being overly pushy for them to speak their truth, just to let them know I want to hear them.
That's really helpful. Yeah, but honestly, they probably need different supports in different ways, like a little bit of time alone with the guys, a little bit of time thinking, how can I go ahead and find a counselor who will help hold space and at the same time offer suggestions, because we need a lot of getting our stuff out, but we also need guidance, because we're not guys who are not ready are not familiar with how to package and handle pieces of a puzzle they've never played with before.
Yeah. So interesting. And I do feel like sometimes that results in so many different things. I know for me, my dad was a rageaholic, and then and he was an alcoholic. He 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 went through that and got straight for quite a while before he died. Um, but then I married somebody that was in rage, because that's what I knew, right? And it was that silent rage, because he wasn't allowed to speak out as a child.
I just saw a meme that really enlightened an element of that. It said that from a perspective of somebody who had been connected to addiction, that sobriety is 10% dealing with the drug of choice. I'll say it was focused on alcohol, but I'm just going to say drug of choice, and
Yeah.
and 90% emotional sobriety. How do we contain and manage and share and withhold emotion? Because sometimes you need to withhold if you're not in a safe space. If you're not going to be heard, that's something you need to remove yourself from that situation. If it's someone you've built a relationship with, how do you find a safe way to deliver? This is what I'm feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. It is hard to have that safe place if you don't know that it's there. Like, I didn't realize that. I mean, how much of us are with a narcissist, like Judy's talking about, her starter husband.
Mm-hmm.
And then we don't know, because that's what we grew up with. And so that's what we're kind of drawn towards. And you don't know that that's there yet. But once you recognize it, you're like, oh my gosh. It
Sure.
changes the way you breathe. It changes the way that you walk. It changes the way that you speak, certainly.
I see someone mentioning how um, her husband's experience of emotion got more of an impact upon his father's death and blaming himself in some way. I will definitely say that every person can experience issues with a death, and bereavement support and bereavement recovery is very powerful in all kinds of trauma, because it unpacks things. It brings to light things that were not expected. It's you can get somebody into bereavement support so much better if you can just let them not be stigmatized by needing support.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, it's hard for him to reconcile both of those memories and the emotions they breed. It makes me feel so awful knowing he feels so much and can't express it properly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? This is where the emotional literacy needs to be raised among men, because if we are to raise emotionally literate children, men must be able to model. They must be able to do it themselves, because that's how we're going to raise stronger boys, raise women to support men who are needing help with emotional literacy. And the literacy goes to understanding your own emotions first. So your first understanding is know thyself. That's where you have to start. And you can't really do that without some help. You really need to get your mind open to that. And then you connect with a friend. One, get the communication started. And then from there, expand to other friends, men with men, because they're the ones that are going through the very same struggles. And if they see a buddy can do it, oh, so that's how you go ahead and hold your arm when you're shooting a bow and arrow. I get it. This is how I'm going to take and tackle that target. If you show them the process and the steps, they're excited to go ahead and do it. And then they can go from having a confidant to having community, because they put together a tribe. Once that happens, you can also see a decrease in suicide risks.
Wow. Yeah. She's saying exactly. I don't want me to end up like my mother and him like his father, passing on internalized misogyny to a child to have to live within their life too. Yeah.
That's the hope you can try to share with your husband, that he can be the one to break the generational curse or handicap and be the one that raises up the girls to give space to the guys, raises up the guys, the boys that will be men that honor their heart.
That's beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. Honoring our hearts. It's once we get into that heart chakra and really work with it a lot and kind of abide in it, like, what am I feeling right now? And, with curiosity, it makes such a difference, doesn't it?
It does. And, when you're trying to open the heart, sometimes the easiest thing is to work with the lungs. Because if you can get somebody to breathe more deeply than a shallow breath and just open themselves up, it relaxes even the shoulders, and it makes you feel like you're opening your arms ready to embrace.
Yeah.
That embracing and openness is an evidence that your heart has opened and you can reach new spaces.
I love this. And my daughter taught me this. She showed me just a few weeks ago, we were out running errands. And I was like breathing shallowly, but I thought I was covering. Like, I thought I was masking it. And she's like, Mom, I can't be around you if you're not regulating. And I'm like, wow, tell me about that. That's so cool. I love that. And I'm like, well, how are you doing it? And it was just really interesting because I teach this stuff, right?
Yeah,
and yet,
meditation, you kind of need to breathe.
Yeah. And I was like, God, girl, that's amazing. Thank you. Because I thought I had it all going on here. I thought I was like really getting her done. And it's really interesting. Barbara says, I dealt with shame of how society saw mental illness as I was growing up. 100%. Yeah.
That's actually something I'll hit on if anybody's interested. I'm doing deeper research into the work that, from astrology's perspective, as to how that happened.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because it started with decriminalizing mental health. And it started from a man who, in the 1800s, my great-grandparents were born in the late 1800s, and that's when this man was healing his own mind by changing his thinking. And the work that he did helped with a Canadian, whatever their organization that would be the complementary to the American Psychiatric Association. They worked on decriminalizing to get criminals out of prison because they were mentally ill. And then they found a mental health institution. The next step was to deinstitutionalize and get people out of institutions. So they got integrated to society, but not fully, because there was still stigma. So then they destigmatized, and they did a lot of that work with creating peer groups, creating connection between people, having support groups. And this is something I can show the connections to Chiron. Even though it was in 77, the energy for affected people were in the 1800s as well, that were taking up the battle. And Chiron was the teacher of heroes, ethics, morals, healing, medicine, everything, warfare, hand-to-hand combat, the struggling and the striving that you experience when you see Hercules with the 12 labors. Well, those 12 labors are like the signs. Everyone deals with something. That's the symbol for universal striving of humanity. And we all strive to be connected.
Wow. That's so beautiful. Yeah. In 77, that's when Reagan got rid of a lot of or right around there where he got rid of a lot of the support systems, right? Reaganomics.
Well, his presidency was 80 to 88.
Okay.
So he would have been watching the lay of the land.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see him as getting the picture correct, because Reaganomics and trickling down hasn't really helped anyone except big business.
Yeah. Yeah. He got rid of a lot of the supports too, I think.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Hypnicity says, the more I learn of American history, the more ashamed I am of what my ancestors did. My mom's family were Bear Lake pioneers. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very tricky to celebrate certain things that the ancestors did. But just as we are aware in families, there are some of us, there were some of them that were also close to the land. And honestly, being closer to the earth is so powerful. That makes a lot of difference.
Yeah. So this is interesting because I feel like there are so many places on the earth that are so sacred, but some of them will walk into and you can feel that pioneer spirit or that indigenous spirit. And like I can just hear the bison roaming and feel the stagecoach or whatever, or the
fae
horse. Yeah. Or the fae, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Or the Nunehi, which is an indigenous name.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he closed many of the mental institutions. Yeah, left them on the street to go. Reagan, Ronnie, Judy. I love that. Hey, Denise, good to see you. Well, we've got a few questions here that we can go into.
Great.
And you saw something that Sally had said earlier too that you wanted to expand on. I was looking for it. She's talking about the weird stuff that happens at her house. I think we talked about that. Yeah.
Yeah. It inevitably is always amazing. Once you see other things that people aren't aware of, you can discover that there is some connection with what is going on and how your own experience is going to be shaped in the future. It's tremendously key. My daughter had participated in investigations. I'm also a paranormal investigator. So as a young teen, she was in the field. And by the age of 18, I was asked, when she was 18, I was asked to go ahead and consult with another medium and a team. And I came home and told my daughter, I said, so 2 homes ago, this family found themselves in a haunted home. Their last home was haunted. Their current home is haunted. What's going on? It's not the homes, it's the people, is what her answer was. It's that clear. And they were entrenched in fundamentalist Christianity that told them that the spirits they were connecting with were demons. And it was a loving grandmother trying to help an awakening child who was gifted as a medium. but feared all the connection. So everything was deemed as a demon. That's just one misunderstanding. There are many different ones. Trust your inner guidance and work with that before everything else. Really work with your guides.
Yeah. Yeah. She says it's been hard to get my head around, to be honest.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sally, do you want to go ahead and share something nuanced that you think might be either unique or universal as to some type of an experience that you had in your home? It doesn't matter if it's on the unique or the universal end of the spectrum.
Sally, do you want me to show a picture to Reverend Rec? I can pull one up from my emails.
That's fine.
Yeah, if I have your permission, Sally, just let me know. There are light beings that visit her land. And
so that's support.
Right?
And they are saying, we see your light, and we are totally seeing that you are giving us space. So these light beings are fully supporting you, and they're helping. The more light you have, the more you're going to experience communication, though I will let you know, with other things that are not always so light bearing. They may have issues that they are needing help. So you'll get both. The good, the bad, and the ugly. I would definitely suggest getting in development for your own understanding.
Yeah. Let's see. I think that one's one. I can't pull that one up. Yeah, I'm having trouble pulling them up right now, Sal.
Well, I saw there was a mention of orbs, and just so I'm not misunderstood in the context, I'll say development needs to continue. No matter how early you start, you're always going to level up and be able to experience things outside your own current level of understanding. So keep in contact with your guides and keep working to understand more, and bring light in and function within the light, because if worse comes to worse, if you experience terror, put on a comedy and start laughing. Take ownership of your space, and I'll share advice that I gave for that family that was afraid of demons. The young daughter was 16, and they had 2 years left to really have an impact. And I explained, look, she needs to understand boundaries. So many people do. If she can't learn how to hold her own space with a negative entity, she's not going to understand how to deal with a difficult boss. Oh, there aren't that many of those, right? A difficult coworker, a partner. She won't know how to hold her own identity. One thing is, when we talk about identity, I think we owe the LGBTQ community an incredible debt for awakening us to how much we really needed to start seeing, I am who I am. And yeah, I'm taking a benefit from that and saying, I am somebody who processes the unseen world. That's not the same as LGBTQ, but honestly, the LGBTQ community is also in a space where they've been unseen.
Yeah, definitely.
Sally, I definitely will say your curiosity is going to guide you well. That's why you now are aware that this stuff does exist. You got rid of that idea that it didn't exist.
Let me cancel that one. It'll just be one more second, and I think I'll have a really pretty thing to show you. Sorry, guys. This is my technical stuff that's like, you know. Let me see. Too many windows up.
Mhm. While you're trying to figure that out, I will say there was one particular investigation. Oh, wonderful. I'm going to go ahead and expand that so I can see it better. Wow, that is amazingly layered.
Yeah, and that's just one thing. I mean, she has videos. Yeah, there's so much coming in all the time.
Yeah, that almost looks like a layering of things, like a little bit of a portal that is bringing through an entity.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's definitely. There's orbs. There's what we call school buses that come in. Now she has rainbow school buses coming in. These big guys that I think are guardians. She has some big ones that are kind of off to the
Someone,
sides that are definitely guardians of the land.
someone else mentioned a dragon, and that connects with ley lines and earth energy.
Yeah.
And that is frequently opened up with changes in water, where you're going to have more moisture and flow with oh, I can see the connection to Kokopelli too. Yeah, which is a very powerful energy. The water changes the ionization, and that creates opportunity for portals to come in. Just to keep it moderated, anybody with a basement should certainly, if they are battling moisture, get the dehumidifier and pay attention. When I had a new person in my field of reference that I was coaching, I said, "I know what the weather was like over there. You need a dehumidifier," and I was told, "I have one." I said, "It's not working," and he hung up the phone. He didn't take the cell with him. I was surprised, and then he got right back to me. He had checked it. It had shut off because it was overflowing.
Oh, yeah.
They'll have that automatic shut off. So yeah, they need
Yeah.
tended to.
Yeah. Anyway, just amazing stuff.
It is.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Okay, we've got a few questions too. Let me take that out. We'll just let go of that one. Okay. Let me get to those questions.
Please.
Sally has muscle spasms in her arm.
So there are most likely muscular neurological issues. Things are not firing well. Do things that open up your flow. Do the stretching and the relaxation, gentle yoga, because those things will, and the nutritional support is always a good thing. You want to hit things from multiple prongs. So nutrition, activity, and spiritual shifting of the mind to open up blockages. Creativity is a wonderful thing to engage in. Just to go ahead and feel you have well expressed yourself, and having good conversations, very helpful. Things start to flow. Once you have flow in the mind, then your body will flow.
Yeah. Yeah. She does have
Oh,
chronic nerve damage in the spine.
yeah, and if you should happen to experience issues of uh, physical impairment that are that severe, I will also tell you, you do not need to have your hands completely engaged in a process. Just see the light emanating from the spirit of your hands, opening your heart to embrace, and then send the light into the space that is in need. That doesn't even require Reiki.
Yeah. I
That
love
can be
that.
done from the soul.
And Leah has that too. We we're such a tribe. We all get each other's stuff, but or we're drawn together because of that.
Well, yeah, you can each support one another with all of your techniques. It's not that misery loves company. It's that success is best in a group.
I love that. That's great. Yeah. And I also see that like when we're doing our breath work for meditation too, I always usually put in the caveat that, if you can't do that breath work, just pretend that you are, because your brain doesn't know the difference. So
Sally has a wonderful thought there. Her body is different now, but it still works.
yeah,
That is the focus we need to keep. It's important to use what works and celebrate it because you found something.
yeah, yeah. Let's see. I got you started there, shenanigans. Judy and Teresa and I would like shame zapping. Let's talk about that. What does that look like? They just came up with that, so I don't know what that looks like.
I'm
Um,
curious. Tell me about
yeah,
that phrase, shame zapping. Is that trying to target it and eliminate it the minute it rears its head?
Judy. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. Inner child work, Barbara says.
Oh, wonderful. Absolutely. Because so many of the wounds of childhood, children don't have the emotional wherewithal to actually understand what is upsetting them. And that's tricky. That's why art therapy is so powerful. You can ask a child, well, if you were to describe it or try to draw it with crayons, what color would it be? If you could feel your drawing, what would the texture be like? Would it be bumpy? Would it be rough? What kind of shape does it have that you can't see on the paper? All the weirdness.
Yeah, I love that because that brings in your senses as well, which
Oh, yeah.
is huge, isn't it?
Yeah. If you
Yeah,
could hear it, what would be the sound that it would make? And why would it make that sound?
yeah, yeah. And then once we get into that, the physical senses, we can get into the subtle senses, and
Mm-hmm.
that makes a huge difference.
And
Um,
it's easier to deal with the physical because we can talk about that more easily.
yeah,
And then we can say, oh, so I get that. It makes me think of this.
yeah. Debbie says, I've been having itchiness and pain between my shoulder blades. Doctors can't find a reason. Do others have this problem too? It's been a year.
So the front of the body, opposite the shoulder blades, is different than the back. And the back is vulnerable. So the back is a place of shielding and guarding. We can see what's coming in front of us, but there's quite possibly something disturbing your inner peace that feels like it's unseen. And it's like the hackles on the back of an animal raising the hair on their spine. You are aware that something is disturbing the force. And you need to really relax and try to focus where is it coming from. And when you can see where it's coming from, then you can change the spaces you're in, address what creates your vulnerability through your perspective, and recognize too that anxiety is a concern about the future. Depression is about the past. So you're worrying about something that could happen. You were absolutely created to handle every obstacle you're going to get. Spirit has brought you to a space of power. Have no fear. Move forward in faith.
Okay. That was huge what you just said about anxiety is about the future and depression is about the past. Wow. That's like a big aha moment for me. Because when you can put a name on it, you can work with it, right?
Right. That's like finding the corners and the flat edges in a puzzle. You can start to figure out what pieces fit where.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, shenanigans. A lot of people are saying that's your wings, which I know we've had people on before that say that's where your wings start growing. So,
Well, and why would we need our wings? The wings were
yeah.
used to envelop and hug us. Not just they're not for movement. Angels move at the speed of thought. It's not to fly. It's to protect.
Yeah.
That's why that happens.
Oh, Mary says nostalgia
Paresthetica.
thank you, is a nerve disorder that results in persistent itch, typically below the shoulder blade. I've had this for many years. Wow.
There is a lot of work that's been done online regarding the metaphysical meaning of things, and you can include body parts, illnesses, irritations. There are many things that the body relates, and that is possibly connected to some type of spiritual experience as well.
Yeah. Also, you guys, in meditation a lot, we bring in light to the back of people's heart chakra when they're going through a very hard time. And and sometimes it's too strong for people to get it through the front. It's like to go in through the back way is just a softer, more gentle way to bring in light. I always see for people that are going through something tough or perhaps too much energy. Perhaps they're too sensitive to it. I do. If you've got a minute, Teresa says, Teresa says, I have multiple generations of abuse on both sides of my family. They protect abusers. Yeah.
Yeah, and oftentimes it is victims who are protecting abusers because they themselves have found, in order to survive, they find that denial is a helpful tool, not seeing its damage. And that's a problem. So we want to go ahead and recognize these protectors of abusers were most likely abused themselves, and find your source of support outside of that unit, because you're not mistaken, you're not crazy. You may be the black sheep of a family, but there are people that are protecting abusers, so look for the sanity elsewhere.
Yeah, it's so true. So often, if you've been abused, then you are the black sheep of the family. Whether it was by somebody in your family or somebody on the outside, you're the black sheep. You're like, she's got problems or whatever. It's just not fair. The other thing I know, Teresa, is that sometimes I used to think the nicer I was to somebody, the more that they would see that I did not deserve that. And that was a wrong done. We can't change anybody's world. What they see is what they see. And I often thought I could if I could give them love and light. But it doesn't happen like that, because they certainly don't have to take that love and light or your truth. They have their own truth.
Yeah, it's more likely that people will change after they hit their rock bottom. this is one of the reasons I think consent is so important with healing. You have to go ahead and know that somebody will participate in their healing. Because if someone will not participate, they're going to invite same difficulty and trauma into their life after you remove the current problem. Because they are not understanding how to elevate their space, their mind, their vibration to be inhospitable to difficulty. That's one of the reasons I'm a big fan of Palo Santo as opposed to Sage. Sage just runs in and gets rid of negativity in a hostile way. Palo Santo raises vibration so that negativity is no longer welcome.
Wow. Okay, I'm writing that down too. Palo Santo raises vibration. I have both on my desk right now.
I think it's interesting, too, that there's a big push to recognize when Palo Santo is harvested ethically from fallen trees.
Yeah. Yeah. Shenanigans says, I learned the hard way with my ex, Teri. I tried so hard to help him to be a better person that I didn't care how much punishment I took if I could just accomplish one goal. Oh, honey. Yeah. Yeah, you can surround them in love and light, but but then you have to let them go, right? It's like
that's right, Debbie. You have to let them go.
Their creation, their world. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was just agreeing with how well that was put. Surround them in the love and light, but let them go. That is so important.
Yeah, it's a free will planet. And if people don't want to see what you see, even though we know that it'd be a much better world, that's okay. They're right where they're supposed to be. Sal says, I went the opposite way, pushing people away so they don't get a chance to hurt me. Yeah.
It's not unheard of. There's a lot of people who strike first so they are not pushed out and harmed by other people. They keep people at a distance.
Yeah. Yeah. Codependency in order to survive. 100%. Oh yeah. If you don't see the sea bobbing, then you don't need to wait. All righty. Well, God, I hope you'll come back, Reverend Rick. This was amazing. And I've written down that anxiety is about the future. Depression is about the past. I mean, you said so many things here today that I love, but
we really had a nice breadth of all the different topics we could have covered. I think we could do this again many times.
Yeah, right. This group is amazing too. They're so giving and they're also so talented. Nancy says, I've seen so many things with new eyes by looking behind the curtains I avoided. Wow. Yeah.
That's precious. Yeah. You cannot be afraid of looking behind the curtain.
Yeah. Amen. All right. So I have all of Reverend Rick's information, or a lot of it, in the description once again. So if you'd like to contact him for a healing or astrology, and do you do intuitive readings also?
I use my intuition unconsciously. It comes all the time. So no matter what service I'm providing, intuition will be a part of where I'm guided. And if anybody is interested to make the fastest connection, Facebook Messenger is easiest, but I do expect, I don't go with those secondary accounts. Make sure it's like something that is a regular account, like John Smith being an actual person.
Yeah.
And
oh, go ahead.
I will more than likely go ahead and offer up my phone number so that we can have direct phone messages, text to text, and set up an appointment.
Awesome. Awesome. And I don't think I put your Facebook on there. I just realized that. But
So Rick Kempe.
yeah.
I'm the only Kempe on Facebook because it's an homage to family ancestry. It was the family nickname. And the professional page is Kempe's Corner.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's so much information there as well. All right. Well, thanks everybody for being here, and we'll see you soon. And I hope we'll see you soon, Reverend Rick.